We're back. Season 5, Episode 17, Brotherhooves Social. This is the episode in which our good friend Big Mac decides to dress up as his cousin Apple Blossom, I think it was. Let's go off it. In order to try out for the Sisterhood Social, which we've actually established earlier in this show, in order to be there for his sister and all sorts of fun stuff like that. Shenanigans ensue. I assume you know what that means. This is a hard one to talk about. This is a Dave Polsky work. Dave Polsky has done some interesting episodes. Let's see, we've got Over a Barrel, one of the worst episodes ever. Spike at Your Service, one of the worst episodes ever. Keep Calm and Flutter On, great episode. Rarity Takes Manhattan, great episode. For Whom the Sweetie Belle Tolls, one of the best episodes ever. It's a hell of a spread, is what I'm trying to say. So, this one fits that perfectly, I think, because this is, in my legitimate opinion, a very good episode and a very bad episode smashed into one. And having rewatched it, I have 100% codified my thoughts on that. It's almost like Sean, who has decided to sub to me, thank you very, very much, Sean, very much appreciated, has decided to sub to me despite the fact that I totally suck. So he's the good and I'm the bad is the idea here. So, give me one moment. I need to write down whatever Sean wants to put that towards. All eyes turn towards Sean. Will he tell me? Soon. Soon. Soon I will know the truth. I mean, I tend to be more anti-wacky hijinks. We've talked about this before. I'm okay with wacky hijinks when they service the plot or when they're done well. I'm just going to say that. When they are connected to the theme or they're connected to the plot or they're in character, whatever, something good. But these do not strike me as thusly good. It's just, hey, shenanigans, and it's like, okay. I'm not even watching this. Or just funny. Yeah, they could just be funny. Every now and again, shenanigans just be funny. Big Mac having trouble tossing pins because he's in a dress doesn't really strike me as character, theme, plot, or funny. But again, I'm getting off topic. Let's rewind a bit. So, look at my notes. So we've got the Sisterhood Social. Let's do this in advance because I'm a little distracted right now because I'm still grinding at FF14. So we got the Sisterhood Social thing. That's a continuity counter. And we've got... That's true, Lord Haremont. I'll give you that one. Funnily enough, I thought that was the best section of the shenanigans thing. But I'll get to that in a minute. I will. So we got the Sisterhood Social. Scootaloo and Rainbow Dash is a thing. I want to give two more continuity pluses. Listen to me. I think of them as pluses, I'll admit it. They are effectively pluses, because the whole point is it's good continuity that elevates the enjoyment of the work. So, yeah, that sounds like a positive thing to me. But anyways. First of all, there's a quiet implication. There's actually two quiet implications. No, we're not, I say Ross. Although it looks like I didn't resize it properly, so that's on me. Oh, we are! You're right. God damn it. I blame you. S.A. Ross. There. This is all your fault, S.A. Ross. And no one else's. Definitely not my fault for screwing it up, like I was talking about earlier. I want to add a plus. It is effectively a plus. For the implication of how much... I don't know how to put it. How much closer Rainbow Dash and Scootaloo have gotten off camera. I know that sounds like a weird thing to comment on, but this is actually what I would call legitimately good television right here. When you have a thing where there's characters who show off-camera development, that's good, in my opinion. And it doesn't have to be anything big. It can be little things. It could be body language. It could be just a little comment, or it could be the way they act with each other, or the way that what they're doing with each other, right? But you could show... Not every bit of character development has to be on camera. You just have to show it developing on camera, if that makes any kind of sense. And this is doing that. We see, just based on how they interact and based on the fact that they're doing this together, that they have continued to develop a, you know, sibling, sisterly, whatever you want to call that, relationship. It's awesome. The other thing, and this is similar, if you remember, the last time we had a Sisterhood Social, Rarity was like, there's no way in hell. And then she realized she was losing her sister, and that bothered her. And so she, you know, did some awesome, awesome things and decided to go ahead and participate because she cared about her sister. You remember that? The reason that's relevant here is because... Oh, that sucks, Sean. I'm sorry. I don't have anything to add to that. I have nothing profound to add to death. Death sucks. I say that so often, and I say it with good purpose, because death sucks. No matter what else you add to it, that is what it always boils back down to. The other awesome thing here is that Rarity and Sweetie Belle were going to participate in this as a normal thing, as in this is a normal activity that they are going to do. The significance of that is, once again, it is showing off-camera character development. It is showing the fact that at this point in time, Rarity and Sweetie Belle are at the point where, of course, they're going to do the Sisterhood Social together. Why wouldn't they? And again, if you're paying attention, that is a clear development. That is a clear movement forward in Rarity's character and in their relationship as sisters from the previous episode where this came forward. And Rarity and Sweetie Belle's relationship has been important before and will be important again. So that's awesome. So, 2 pluses, because they're totally not pluses, to continuity. I've been thinking a lot in review mentality lately, so what the hell do I know? So that's 3 total. 1 for the social in general, 2 for the things I just mentioned. And I'm actually out of date and updating the HUD again. We're actually up to here. Notes. So this then leads to the first bit of the episode, which is amazing and terrible. I keep waiting for this to happen to me. You got it, Sean. I will do that right now. It's never actually happened to me. It's never actually come to pass. But there are things that my niece absolutely adores doing with her uncle. And I keep waiting for that day. It may never come. I keep waiting for that day when eventually she will no longer want to hang out with her big uncle, and where she will no longer want to play zombie or swords or any of the other stupid, silly stuff we do just to have fun. I'm terrified of the day when I will come to visit and she will not immediately lunge forward and jump into my arms because she's excited to see me. Because that's probably going to happen. It happens with most people. Not everyone. Not everyone, but it does happen with most people. It's even normal. I can't put it into words. I'm sure several people in chat apparently know what I'm talking about, so it's good, because I fail at vocabularizing. Yes, it's a word now. Exactly what it would feel like. Because we've talked about this recently, I have an excellent imagination, and while that may seem like a good thing, I kind of wish I didn't. Because I could tell you exactly how that will feel when that day comes. Because I can imagine it so clearly and distinctly. The day when I will be super happy to go and see my niece, and her response will be, eh. And that's the thing. It's not active disdain, it's more like disinterest. That whoever was writing this episode, Mr. Polsky, has been through this. I guarantee it. Because the way that she reacted was exactly... Hey, it's that stupid turtle. Was exactly like that. You know. Her response is, oh, cool. You found the thing we used to play with. That's neat. And then she moves on immediately. And it's just, oh! Just, oh god, that hurt. Watching that physically hurt. You know? Oh my god. Because that's the whole point. The indifference is what makes it hurt. And yeah, AJ recognized it instantly. Credit to AJ, of course. She immediately is like, oh, ooh. Ooh. Yeah. That's... You want to talk about this, Big Mac? Oh my god, poor Big Mac. I really do feel for him. I really do. And yeah, this whole time Applebloom is idolizing Applejack. Now, of course she is. Applejack is a pretty awesome character. She might even be my favorite, not counting the fact that I'm Rarity. But the fact of the matter is, she's... she's a super strong, intelligent, observant person who has literally participated in saving the entire country more than once. This is the superhero problem. We've actually talked about this before on this show. There is a little bit of the superhero problem when it comes to the main six. So naturally, Applebloom idolizes Applejack. Of course she would. There's nothing wrong with that, per se. But this episode is a nice little zoom in on exactly what it feels like to be someone other than Superman. To be someone who is, you know... I mean, that's a bad analogy, because Superman doesn't have a character like that. But, you know, to be the normal alongside the Star Destroyer. I was actually thinking about this as we've been reviewing FF14 the last week. Because this has been a regular and repeating story point over in FF14, that there are people who measure themselves alongside us, the main character. And for those of you who haven't been there for the FF14 thing, I keep paralleling us to a Star Destroyer. It's a very carefully thought out analogy, believe it or not. Because we are super death-doomed destructo. We could take on an entire planet by ourselves and win. But A, there's nothing wrong with not being a Star Destroyer, which is a recurring story beat, and B, a Star Destroyer is worthless without the proper support. Well, worthless might be overstating it, but an idiot at the helm of a Star Destroyer will screw everything up, and a Star Destroyer without, you know, supplies and support staff and their screen and the shuttles that keep them in, you know, connected and all that fun stuff, it's nothing, right? And you see how much that is now relevant to this episode. Because now we have a situation... Well, then it sucks to be them, Bear. Because now we have the situation where AJ is effectively the Star Destroyer in this equation. It doesn't quite line up, but just bear with me. But she still needs Big Mac. He even mentions at the end of the episode, you know, I just stay home and doing all those chores and all that fun stuff. And I don't do anything big or fancy or special. And yet, what he is doing is literally critical to her personally. Applejack could not do what she needs to do if someone was not available to handle the things that she cannot. That's how that works. That's why anybody with a brain will actually tell you that, well, it's nice to be the actor, and while it's nice to be the director, without the support staff, that movie is not getting made. That show is not happening. That game is not produced. You know? It's true in real life. It's true in fiction. So the beginning of this episode nails that emotional beat and intellectual beat brilliantly. And yeah, I remember that. If you remember, I mentioned we'd talk about that later, and here we are. You know, the last time we saw Big Mac, and he had, you know, the powers of the dream in Luna's realm. And what did he do? He made himself an alicorn, so he too could be a superhero. So he could be a superhero again. Might even be a better way to put that. Yeah. So lots of good feels and lots of good design in the beginning. Like I said, the intro is brilliant. I could gush about it for quite a while. We also see Applebloom herself have... so two little things happen in short succession. First of all, Applebloom herself kind of hints at the theme I just mentioned. She says, and I quote, "Your extreme awesomeness is backfiring on me." Sometimes just being really good at something can suck for the people around you. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. You're not doing it on purpose. There's no malevolence. There's no ill intent here. I mean, do you think Applejack really is trying to snub Big Mac? Of course she isn't. Why would she be? She loves her brother. Anyways. The second thing is Scootaloo and Rainbow Dash will be participating. Now, I already talked about their connections and how awesome that is for continuity. The relevant point, though, is they drop a line that the definition of what constitutes a sister has always been a loose definition, and they just kind of slide that under the rug there. And it's one of those you're not supposed to think about it lines. It's just, yeah, no. Don't think about it. But, of course, that is relevant for the later part of the episode. So... I mean, I'm probably biased, Lunarith, because I have been an actor, I have been a director, I have been a writer, and I've been the person in the booth, and I've been the person on the camera, and I've been the person who sets up the lights, and I've been the person who programs the lights, and I've been the person who's in the prop department, and you get the idea. I was fortunate back in high school and college in the fact that I deliberately sought out and had access to all sorts of aspects of... That was theatrical, specifically, and also some television stuff. That was awesome, so... First-hand experience. None of that stuff happens without sport. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. We've always had a loose definition of what constitutes a sister. And this then... So this has been good stuff. Then the shenanigans start. Now, I've already complained about this, and honestly, I feel like I don't really need to go in detail here, but I'm going to, because it's my job. So, why is the shenanigans section so blah? I told Lord Harrimont, or I think it was Lord Harrimont, I'd circle back around to this point. Constituents, Lord? Yeah, first of all, is that Big Mac in a dress? No one's fooled. No one's fooled. I just want you to hold on to that point, because I'm going to come back to that. So, Big Mac does the singing section. I said I'd circle back to that. The reason I liked that is because it's fully in character and fully lines up with everything that's happening. It's reasonably funny. Except the older gentleman who wants... Well, either that or he did know. It's one of the two. Nothing wrong with preferences, right? But no, the point here is that... The singing... Big Mac is already established as someone who's an excellent singer who has already sung in public, right? Like, that's something he does and has done already. Oh, gotcha, Loner. Gotcha. So, the relevance there is that... of course he would be really good at singing. He even has a moment where he looks legitimately... I almost want to say smug, as he's like, oh yeah, no. I know the lyrics. He doesn't say that. But instead, what actually happens, and this is brilliant, this is why I like this one bit of the shenanigans, is that she says, you don't understand, this one's really tough. Applejack had to work really hard to memorize these lines. Did she now? And there's just that smile, that satisfaction, because now he can be good at something that Applejack is not. This ties into everything I was just talking about, the competitiveness. The fact that Applejack has unintentionally been snubbing Big Mac, and now he has the opportunity to reverse that. To be better than her at something. And frankly, he is. He is a good singer. And he, in character and out, it's actually it's much harder to do what he was doing than it sounds. So that lined up beautifully and perfectly, and that's why that particular shenanigan I'm totally with. And this is what I mean by why, you know, wacky antics and whatnot I'm fine with as long as they're done well, because that was done well. Then, the rest of the episode happens. And what happens is just, they just flounder and falter and fail and bleh. Now, this brings me to my biggest complaint here. Everyone knows that's Big Mac. Why the deception? Now, just to get this out there, I don't give a damn about the fact that Big Mac's in a dress, and you'll notice no one else does either. The only relevant point is that he is attempting to deceive them about his identity, and the episode makes a point of re-emphasizing that point several times. Oh yeah, no, it's my cousin, totally. Wig, wig. Except, obviously, you know, it is not. So why the deception? And this is probably the reason why this episode, and I hate to use this word, strikes me as so cringy. It's not the fact that he's in a dress, it's the fact that he's lying through his teeth about an awkward lie that no one believes to begin with. And you know what I mean by that exact brand of awkward lie, right? Like that just kind of, oh no, did you take the cookies out of the jar? No, I didn't take any. Okay, that's a bad example because that's a kid, but you get the idea. This is also doubly irritating since, as mentioned earlier, there's absolutely no reason why A, they couldn't have just not had the lie and had him dress up to be her sister. Sure. Or B, they're the Apple family. They've been a part of the Sisterhood Social for generations. They know the rules of this operation. There is no reason he has to dress up. If he wants to, that's fine. But there's no reason... You see why I keep emphasizing the point that the deception is what pisses me off about the middle part of this episode. Yeah, Granny Smith should have just walked up and put the kibosh on this immediately. So, the deception pisses me off, and drastically reduces my enjoyment of the episode. That's in addition to the fact that it's not funny, and it's clearly being portrayed for laughs. Ha ha, he doesn't know how to walk in a dress. As I've talked about already, when it comes to a certain Deep Space Nine episode, which my rumination on has already come out, just putting a guy in a dress is not comedy. So, forgive me, but the score, if you will, of this episode is dinged substantially by the middle chunk of it, because... What? Now, enough negativity, because I got more positive things to say about this episode. First of all, scrolling down a little bit, there's a line that Apple Bloom says, so this is right before the big conclusion climax scene, right? The big race. Now, that line, Apple Bloom says, "Don't worry, I'll just wait until the next one, and I'm sure Applejack will help me get a blue ribbon further down the line." Ouch. Once again, and I reiterate, ouch. That is, and you'll notice how it's so beautiful because there's no malice there. She's not saying that to hurt him. But God, that has... I felt that one. Just, yeah, take... what she effectively just did was proved all of his fears right. And just crushed them. Crushed his heart right there. Because what she has effectively done is confirmed, yeah, no, Applejack's better than you in every way. And she's my real sibling. You know, she's the real person I can rely on and count on, and the person I'll really care about and interact with in the future. And you were not good enough. That's effectively what she's saying there. She doesn't mean to. She's probably not even thinking about it. But that is exactly what she's saying there. And you can tell by his reaction that that is exactly how he is taking it. This then leads to the race. Now, what's interesting about the race, this goes back to what I keep banging on about with the deception. Because during the race, the episode makes a point of showing us how his costume is slowly been removed over the course of the race. You know, that it's like, oh my god, he's going to be unveiled as Big Mac, and they'll know, and that'll be what'll snap him. I do like the fact that they flat out said, no, we've known it was you this whole time. But before I cover the last little tidbit, because I do have something to talk about that, can I just say that I 100% sympathize with him there. Oh, I'm not saying what he did was right. Quite the contrary, actually. But the episode goes out of its way to show how desperate he is to make this win, to prove. Because there's only one way to defeat that kind of thought. The I'm not good enough thought. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that's it. There's one strong way to defeat that kind of a thought. The I'm not good enough, the I'm not acceptable enough, the I was right all along about how crap I am thought. And that way is to be proven wrong. AKA, to succeed. We've actually talked about this before, on MLP no less. To actually succeed. So what he does is he throws himself into it as hard and violently as he possibly can, in order to prove, no, I can do this. You don't need Applejack. I got this. And he succeeds. This is when things get... Though, how many of you have ever played a board game? It doesn't really matter which one. But how many of you have played a board game? You know, Settlers of Catan, Pandemic, chess, you know, whatever. You're probably thinking, Lord, what are you on about? One of the things that I came to realize at a very young age, because I had the great fortune of going to a Boys and Girls Club that had like a board game room. So one of the things I came to understanding very early on is games like that are only fun when everyone is on the same page, when everyone's playing by the same rules. Because there's nothing that actually prevents you. Yes, he was, Lune. I mean, I feel for him. I'm just saying, you know. But anyways, getting back to the board game thing. There's nothing that prevents you from picking... We'll use chess. That's a very basic one. There's nothing that prevents you from picking up the queen and just moving it over there. There's nothing that prevents you from just deciding to queen all of your checkers. You know, there's nothing that prevents you from deciding that you're just going to not to move the robber over there. There's nothing that prevents you from deciding to just not draw the pandemic card this time, and so forth and so on, right? There's no impediment. All it is a rule. You with me? And that rule only matters as long... There's no enforcement, is what I'm trying to say. So that rule only matters... That's true, Savacom. That rule only matters as long as the people agree it does. Now, this leads to the point. Of course we agree to follow those rules. That's how we have fun. This, by the way, this exact same analogy also applies to sports. I should have used the sports analogy, but it didn't occur to me, because I'm an idiot. Right? You can just cheat at baseball. Right? You can just grab the ball and say, nope. Alright. Nope. Just go ahead and grab it. Knock the guy out of the way, you know. Those rules... Yeah, exactly. This is... There's two types of rules when it comes to games in general. Sports, video, board, card, dice. There's hard rules. That's stuff you can't do. You can't roll a 21 on a dice, right? It's not physically possible. And then there's a soft rule. And those are the rules we all agree upon. And we agree upon them because we're all here for roughly the same... This is why I say we're on the same page. We're all here for the roughly same idea. We're here to have fun, right? Thus, what Big Mac does is he violates Rule 1. We're all here to have fun is Rule 1, by the way. I've mentioned this when it comes to my D&D stuff, right? Actually, technically, the rule numbers have been moved around, but it's one of the cardinal rules. There's 3 cardinal rules when it comes to D&D, and that's one of them. We're all here to have fun. If someone isn't having fun, that needs to be addressed. You violate that rule, at that point, you're just knocking over the table, right? You see the idea here? And I wanted to comment on that, because it really shows not only the desperation involved, but exactly why it is that they decided to, you know, smash down so hard on him. Because there do need to be consequences for violating that rule. He was actively endangering others and effectively removing the fun of that event in his desperation to win. And good lord, you think that's a problem in video games or board games or sports, you should look at real life every now and again, because that's applicable in, you know, politics, in economics, in industry, right? We all kind of agree on our rules. We all just, actually it'd be more accurate to say we all kind of disagree on our rules, but we try to find overlapping agreements on rules so that we can cooperate and interact with regards to these things. War without rules would be truly horrific. Economics without rules would be truly horrific. We should know. We've had both of those circumstances in real life history. It was bad. You know? Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm drifting a little bit off topic here, but you do see why I bring all this up, and you do see why I think this is a relevant topic point. Even if I bring it right back down to solitaire, there's not really a lot of point of solitaire if you're just going to go ahead and decide to rearrange the cards in order, because screw it. This is funny, by the way, considering this is coming from me, someone who is totally okay with cheating in video games, but I really do feel like that actually is a different thing. After all, everything I just mentioned is something that involves other people. Whereas, if I cheat in Final Fantasy VI, no one else is impacted by that cheating. If I were somehow capable of cheating in Final Fantasy XIV, the game I'm playing right now, that would be a substantially different matter, wouldn't it? Also, if it makes you feel any better, Blue Fox, I'm pretty sure anybody who's played D&D at all has had at least one of those moments in their career. Including me. That's true, Savicom. You're actually right, if you think about it. I'm still following the rules of the game. So anyways, I really wanted to bang on at that point, because I think it's one of the better moments of the shenanigans, the race. This then leads to the last 5 minutes. It's actually not 5 minutes. I wrote it down. It is 3 minutes and 40 seconds, which may not sound like a lot, but it's a very good 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Real quick. One last note before we move on. You notice how he almost spiked her in the end zone? Did you catch that? Hoorah! And then he catches himself. Anyways. He just wanted to... I actually teared up. I'll admit it. I teared up. He just wanted to be someone special. He wanted to be someone she would look up to again. He wanted to be her hero again. Even if it was just for one day. Honestly, yeah, again. Sorry, the again. It is important to mention that. It so speaks for itself. I almost feel silly enunciating it and discussing it. Because it's so overt. It's so on his sleeve exactly how he feels. And exactly everything we've been discussing at this point. Everything we've been discussing about how that is a thing he's been going through and why it's been hurting him so much and why it's been smashing him so much in the face. Just, no, you're worthless, you're terrible, you're awful, and that's all he's been seeing. And it's been proven time and time again. Of course, it's not true. He is not a Star Destroyer. But that's fine. And that's one of the interesting tidbits there. And this is when the FF14 comparison really came in for me. Because he's just like one of the many NPCs we've talked to who are like, God, I just wish I could be like you. And it's like, no, be you. Be whoever you are. There's nothing wrong with who you are within reason. Yes, I do, S.A. absolutely. I'm pretty sure that Big Mac has been through this at least once before with his little sister. His first little sister. And considering that at that point in time, he and Granny Smith effectively raised Applejack. I know he's not that much older than her, but he is still older than her, so... We'll get into their lineage a little bit later, because that'll come up in the future. The idea of wanting to be relevant and significant to someone else is such an overt and obvious idea. I really do feel I'm just going to move on from it. The way he hits that note is brilliant and beautiful. But the episode, because Equestria is better than real life, does manage one really awesome thing. And that is, she gets it. See, here's something I've noticed in real life. We're human. unfortunately. And as a direct consequence, we are forgetful, we are distracted, we're tired, we're lazy, we're busy. We just haven't put the effort in, right? Now, what does this have to do with everything we've been talking about? There are a huge number of circumstances I've observed in my lives where people care about a thing or a person, and it hasn't occurred to them to show it. And the logic is so obvious, I bet most of you have done this yourself. All you have to do is think the thought, why would I need to show you how much I love you? You know I do. Right? That applies for children, that applies for siblings, that applies for parents, that applies for romantic partners, I don't know what to call that. Lovers, we'll go with lovers, I like lovers. That applies for friends. Why do I need to prove how much I care about you? Of course I do. You're my blank. Right? And you could see that is exactly what Apple Bloom has been doing. And I think this then ties into what I said earlier. What's the best way to defeat those thoughts? Well, that's with success. Thus, he does, in his final moments, succeed. He just fails at it. If he fails at making it happen, it's just he happened to succeed without even knowing it, because she was never showing it. She does care about him. She does love him. She does look up to him. She just hasn't been showing that. She even apologizes for that. I'm sorry, I wrote it down. I'm sorry I haven't been letting you know that's how I feel. Which is actually quite mature of her, but, you know, whatever. We can ignore that. We can ignore that. And thus he does finally have his success, which defeats the self-loathing, which defeats the problems he's been having. Because now he knows he is actually important to her. He may not be a Star Destroyer, but he is still a support shuttle. And there's nothing wrong with that. So you can see why I'm actually struggling a little bit here, because it's a really great, emotional, powerful ending. I really wish the middle wasn't as crudely designed as it is, because that final scene, the first bit and the final bit, are brilliant. Easily purple territory. It's right there, you know. So we have to figure out how we're going to rate this episode as a consequence. I don't think we've had one like this yet in MLP, with regards to something that's just this good and this bad in the same breath. See, that's an interesting question, Lord Heremont. Now, I actually meant to talk about that earlier and I forgot, so thank you for reminding me. See, I do. I couldn't stand the hijinks section. I'm sorry. I've already made my point clear there. It was completely out of character. It was an unnecessary lie. You know, they didn't do anything with it other than, you know, the singing and the race. It was just, come on. But again, the map is the GM of the setting, right? We've already established that. And it even makes sense in lore that the map is the GM, because it is literally constructed of the manifestation... Hang on. So the manifestations of the symbols of harmony that themselves are made out of individuals who themselves crafted harmony. I think I got all the steps correctly there. It's like the people... It's the people, the tree, the symbols, and then the representations. I think I got all the steps there. But you get the point. It makes perfect sense that the map is the GM for friendship, right? For the fact that it can literally tell what's going on in the setting, like a GM would. The reason I keep banging on about that point, the reason I'm trying to establish my point here, is because I think that the map actually specifically arranged this situation, not just because Applejack and Rarity were the perfect duo to help out with Manhattan, but because the absence of Applejack could resolve the Apple Bloom and the Big Mac situation. Especially right now of all times. You'll notice timing is something that the map is all about too. It knows when to send people, because again, GM. So, That's why I wanted to really establish my point about the GM thing, because the GM could do that. You know, the writer of the setting could do that. They have the out-of-character, you know, the third-person omniscient, I think, is what that's called in literary terms, viewpoint, necessary to be able to craft that like that. So, having said all that, I think I agree with what most of you had said in chat. I think I'm just going to make it red. I'm just going to drag it down, listen to me, to red, one of the highest ratings I have, which says a lot. Whoops, that's the wrong color. Which says a lot for how well I do consider the, you know, rest of the episode. Nick. So, before we chop off, I've said this before, and I will probably say this a few more times, but I haven't seen the episodes we're in more than once. So all of this is, you know, I have a pretty good memory, but all of this is once through. So what you're watching is my second time watching these episodes. The reason I bring that up is because by memory there were 3 episodes that were my favorites of the franchise. We've already covered 2 of them. One of them was the learning episode where Rainbow Dash had to learn about the history in the past. Do you remember that one? I don't remember the name of the episode, but it's that one. The other one was Slice of Life. We've already covered both of those episodes, and lo and behold, they were excellent episodes. Go figure. Testing, 1, 2, 3, that's it. So testing, 1, 2, 3, and Slice of Life. The third one is The Crusaders of the Lost Mark. I'm very curious if this one's going to continue the trend. It's not permanent, but it's only not permanent because I haven't decided what I'm doing with the shelves yet. But thank you, Blue Fox. Regardless, we'll see how it handles up. So I don't have anything else, you know, I don't have to deal with the paperwork side of things. So in about 25 minutes, we will see how this episode holds up. See you there.